Okay, so the last thing I want to show you today is how to do free motion quilting on the Ambition 610. The first thing you want to do is select a straight stitch if you haven't already done that. The next thing you're going to do is pull the accessory tray off, and you can just do that by grabbing under here. There's a little handle-like thing, and you can pull that off to the side. Back here on the back of the machine is a switch. And I'm going to reach around with my right hand and I'm going to move that all the way to the right. Now you may have noticed these feed dogs right here. If you didn't notice them, they lowered when I did that, and you can tell now that they are below the surface of the stitch plate there. So the next thing I need to do is take the ankle off of the machine. So I'm going to take the long screwdriver that came with the 610. And I get that loosened with the screwdriver, and then usually I get my hand in there to get it the rest of the way. I know my hand's in the way right now, but I'm just unscrewing that ankle, taking that off. I'm going to set that aside. Normally I like to do that with a foot attached to it so I don't lose the ankle, but I needed to show you something else there. I'm going to go ahead and put the accessory tray back on, so that we have a little more room to work with when we start working with quilting. And then the other thing you will need to do this with this machine is, this is an optional foot, so that means you have to purchase it separately. You need the open toe free motion foot, and you need the one that's got the letter K here. That's the class of machines that this the 610 fits into. So we're going to open this up. And this is how what the foot looks like. When you put it on, the shaft of the machine is going to come down in here. So I want to put this right there so it goes through around where the screw would go. And then, I didn't show you this, I should do that before I put it on. This metal bar right here is going to rest right on top of the needle screw when I get it on. So that's what I'm aiming for there. So I'm going to slide that and slip it on, pull it up, there we go. Take the screw and put it back on, and I usually start it with my hands first, get it sort of tight, and then I get the screwdriver and tighten it up. So we want to make sure it doesn't come off. So you also don't want to strip the screw, so you don't want to go too hard. There we go. You don't want to tighten it too much, but there we go. That's probably good enough. All right, so I've got my foot on, and that bar is resting on the needle bar, or right above it anyway. What's going to happen is it's going to kind of make this foot hop up and down while I sew. Now, my favorite way of doing free motion quilting, when you're doing free motion quilting, it does take a little bit of practice. You move the fabric yourself, and so your hands determine the speed at which the fabric moves. The stitch length is determined by both how fast you move the fabric and by how fast the machine is stitching. So right over here is this is a speed control for the machine, and I'm actually going to move this speed control down to about half as where I feel comfortable. And then I do like to engage the needle down, but the first thing I'm going to do is pull up my bobbin thread, because I don't want that nasty knot on the back of my quilting. So I'm going to press the needle down and back up, and I'm going to pull on this top thread. And when I pull, it brings up the loop from the bottom thread. And so now I've got both of my threads on the top, and then I do like to put my needle back down in the same hole if I can get it there. Okay. Now I like to, in order to take one of the variables out of the situation, I like to use the stop start button, and I didn't lower my presser foot, which is a good thing because I wasn't ready yet. This machine does warn you if the presser foot's not down, so I'm going to press OK, and then I'm going to lower my presser foot. And now that I'm ready, I will in a minute press the start stop button. So now all I have to control, because the machine's going to go a consistent speed all I have to do is make sure that my fabric moves at a consistent speed to get a regular stitch length. So I'm going to press the start button, and here we go. So I'm just going to kind of follow along. Oh, well, I was going to follow along that leaf. I didn't exactly do that. So this is something that takes quite a bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, and if you do a little bit of daily practice, it's actually not as hard as it may seem. I'm going to go ahead and press stop so we can get an idea. One thing we may want to look at, or we're going to want to look at here, is our bobbin thread, and look at the back and see how well the tension's doing. Because I use the same color thread in the bobbin and the top thread, you can't really see as well, but I think that we're kind of seeing the top thread come to the back just a little bit. So I think I'm going to adjust my tension just a bit. I want it not to go to the back, so I'm going to make it a little looser. So with tension, you always want to adjust your tension from the top. You don't ever want to adjust the tension in the bobbin case yourself. If it needs to be adjusted, please bring it into your dealer or to us so we can do that for you. It's just very, very tiny increments that you adjust that with. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to press my needle down and back up, put my foot down and pull that bobbin thread up. And we'll see if I like the stitches on the back a little better now. I didn't really adjust it very much because it looked pretty good. But get my thread under there, under that foot, get my needle kind of back where it was, where I started. So what this presser foot does, if you watch while we're sewing, is it actually kind of hops, just like on a long arm. If you've ever watched a long arm machine, and I'm using the foot control, so I'm going to switch over to the start-stop button. Anyway, if you've ever looked at a long arm quilting machine, they call it a hopping foot because it does that. It just hops along, and that's how you kind of have the space to move your fabric around, is because while it's hopping up and down. My stitches are a little bit small, so I'm going to make it go a little, make my fabric move a little faster. Okay, so here we go. Let's see how that looks on the back. And if you want to, you can pull your thread up from the back to the front. But yeah, it looks good. I do like that a little bit better. So you'll want to adjust your tension until you have an even balance. You don't want your top stitches to show on the back or your bottom stitches to show on the front. Basically, you want your quilting to look the same on both sides. Okay? So my stitches are a little small. Looks like I need to do a little more practicing. I haven't done that for a little while. So thanks very much for joining us, and happy sewing.